had zero confidence, and I had to keep building my confidence. We can, get booked and achieve just as much as anybody else. I haven't really left home like I have done like the likes of Dublin. And then the thing is, whenever I've done like Wales, half Welsh myself, so Wales is home for me. I want to see you give the other guy, a big punch around the face.
And we're live. Welcome to the SPRTER Podcast, Skye.
Well, thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining. Let me introduce you to our audience. We are speaking to Skye James, who is a professional wrestler, the Northern Irish Welsh pro wrestler, is also known as the Rainbow Rebel, and wrestled in a number of different promotions across the UK, and last year won her first championship. Congratulations. And she's also been named as the 2021 Outsport QWI 200, which is a wrestling index honoring pro LGBTQ wrestlers from around the globe. Also want to mention Skye's experience store on the SPRTER app, where she offers really amazing experiences to her fans. So without further ado, let's dive in. How did you start wrestling? How did it all come about?
Well, I had to wait, first of all, until I was 16 because I wanted to start wrestling when I was 14, but none of the schools in Belfast would take you until you were 16. So as soon as I was 16, I found a training school and I got into wrestling.
And how did you even create that desire? Most people don't just wake up and decide, you know what, I want to slam bodies on the floor.
It's kind of a weird story because I kind of started getting into wrestling through gaming because my mummy had bought me SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, and then I got into wrestling that way. So I started playing it, and then I started watching it, and then I was really inspired by the girls like Natty and Paige, and I just wanted to be like them.
Okay, so you have some role models there that you follow, that you followed along. What inspired you about those?
I don't know what it was. I would say Paige, or as she's known now as Saraya, was probably the biggest inspiration out of them all, because I always felt like I didn't fit in with the other girls in school, and I really resonated with her. And I seen her wrestling and I was like, you know what, maybe I can wrestle too.
Okay, that's the impact of role models on kids is definitely a real aspect. Now, waiting until you're 16 until you could go to wrestling gym, but how did you go from, hey, I enjoy this, to, oh, I'm actually really good at this, maybe I can go pro in wrestling? And what was that decision making process there?
Well, it was just like, I don't know, I just kept going to training. I always really wanted to go on shows. I was always inspired by other local women like Katie Harvey and Lauren LaRue. And I just wanted to get in the ring just like them and do shows just like them. And anytime I seen them at the shows when I was helping out, I just wanted to be in the ring just like them.
Okay, so you enjoy the spotlight?
Yeah, I guess you have to in wrestling. You kind of have to have a bit of an ego where you do like the attention, because otherwise you wouldn't be very good at it.
And where does that come from? No, absolutely. Now, where does that come from? Did you always enjoy the spotlight, or did you have to work on that? And when are there sometimes moments when you're like, this feels a little bit uncomfortable, or it's like, nope, bring it on?
Oh no, definitely at the start I was very uncomfortable with it, because as a teenager I had zero confidence, and I had to keep building my confidence until I kind of got to the point where one day I was like, do you know what, I'm actually really enjoying all this spotlight.
Is it almost like, I know with wrestling sometimes there is that we pit someone as the villain, or as you have these different personalities. Is that something that you sometimes even enjoy when the crowd is maybe not as supportive when you're in the ring?
Yeah, I played the bad guy or the heel a few times, and it's always great fun. Like I did a show in Wales, and the kids were really into it. They were shouting horrific stuff at me, and I don't know, it was brilliant because I knew I played the character right, and they were really invested in it because they were reacting to it.
So that means you played the character well.
Yeah.
Now, your nickname is the Rainbow Rebel. Can you tell us how that came about and what it means to you?
So the name actually really came from, I was inspired by the historic event of the Stonewall riots. And like being LGBT myself, I thought like, what kind of character can I make? And I thought of myself as a bit of a rebel, just like the ones in the riots, the ones that started the Stonewall riot. So I just turned it into a name, and I just started calling myself the Rainbow Rebel.
And what are you rebelling against, so to speak? What are you, is it I'm here, I'm against everything, or I'm here and there are certain things that I'm rebelling, or I'm just myself and I don't fit in what other categories people place me in? Can you elaborate on that?
Spot on with the last one. That's exactly it.
Okay.
Like that, I don't put myself in the box. I've kind of started getting to the point where I kind of embrace like what makes me different, and I'm not going to not be me for anybody. And that's what I kind of try to do with my character, and that's what I want people to kind of learn from me when they watch me, is never apologize for being you.
Okay, and don't apologize for being you. I think that resonates with a lot of people. And the rebel part, obviously, that makes sense from the, okay, I don't fit in here, don't box me into something. The rainbow rebel, I would guess, makes sense from the LGBTQ connection. But have you received any support or any where some people have been saying, I'm not on board with this? I would assume the rebel part is going to create some controversy. So can you talk us about the supporters as well as those who may not be as supportive about that?
Well, I have had pushback mainly for like the rainbow part, obviously, but like you just gotta ignore them people and just be you and keep being you. And the thing is, with these sort of things, if you're not in line and what people consider to be normal, you just kind of have to ignore them and just keep being you. And that's what's really inspired me, is when I see people who are just being them. Like in recent years in WWE, we have had Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville doesn't apologize for who she is, and she is an inspiration, and she embraces, the fact that she is in the gay community. And I take a lot of inspiration from her, and I take a lot of inspiration for people like her.
And it seems like you're also giving people that inspiration as well, as when you mentioned earlier, as like you looked up to those girls who were wrestling, who were like, well, they're different, but they're themselves. Now you are a pro, you won your first, and you made it on the Outsport QWI 200, which is that wrestling index that honors those who are supporting LGBTQ wrestlers from around the world. What does that mean to you to be included in that circle and being on that list?
It was very special for me because growing up, there wasn't any wrestlers that spoke about being gay, or there wasn't any wrestlers that embraced, being part of the gay community. Now, like Pat Patterson was always about, and I do really look up to Pat Patterson, but he never really spoke about it. It wasn't really until like Darren Young came out, and then we started getting wrestlers and the like big profile promotions like Sonya Deville that I spoke about earlier. And now we have loads of them. We have like the Dakota Kai and Shayna Baszler and all them. So it's just like, keep pushing that door open. And I'm glad that I'm kind of like part of that now, where there's this generation of wrestling where it doesn't really matter as much. Like we can, get booked and achieve just as much as anybody else.
And I think that in the past there have been lots of boundaries and gatekeeping against keeping LGBTQ community out of wrestling, which is that macho inspire, that macho dominant sport, right?
You would get characters and you would get them that were based on being like camp gay men, and they were always the heels or they were always the joke act, and that's not a thing anymore, and it's really nice to see.
So you see that there is some change in the industry happening right now?
Definitely 100%.
That is really nice to see now. And part of that is you've also traveled quite a bit of different cities and performed in different cities. Are there differences across the country when you perform in relation to your character, in relation to who you represent, and how you wrestle?
Not really too much of a difference. Like I haven't really left home. Like I have done like the likes of Dublin, and then the thing is, whenever I've done like Wales, have Welsh myself, so Wales is home for me as well.
So you get that home team support there then in those areas.
Yeah, like anytime I do a show in Wales and Newport, or if it's Cumbrain, my dad and some of my aunties and my cousins will come and see me.
What does that mean to you when your family can come out and see you perform at that level?
It's really special. Like it really shocked me one time because my granny, I like made a joke to her about coming to see me wrestle, and she actually came and see me wrestle, and
Nice.
no interest in wrestling whatsoever, but she came to see me.
And did her perception of wrestling change? Were you able to turn into a wrestling fan?
Unfortunately not, but she did really enjoy like seeing me wrestle.
So she's a fan of the Rainbow Rebel, not
She
of.
has indeed.
Fantastic. Now, as part of our podcast, we have a segment that we call Break the Rules. And who better is there to break the rules than a rebel? So, in a Break the Rules segment, we ask you to make a rule change to wrestling that you think would make the sport better. And that rule change could be anything from in the ring to out the ring to promotion, whatever it is. Break the rules of wrestling.
Ooh, this one's interesting because now I have to think. um, I don't know, maybe take away the rope break, and then like every match there isn't a rope break, so it kind of like switches the dynamic of the match whenever you do a submission or a pin, because it won't matter if you're close to the ropes.
Okay. And what would make that what how would that make the game better? Would it make it more exciting for fans, or would it make it better for the athletes?
Probably both.
Okay. But probably more dangerous.
Not really.
Okay. So there's no trade-off then on health, and I think that's always
Well,
an aspect.
not right.
Now, wrestling is a dangerous sport, right? You're performing at the highest level. You are fighting. You are engaging in heavily physical contact. How do you feel after a match? And how do you recover? How do you prepare for that?
You're always sore after a match, but you just be used to it, because you're constantly training, so your body does actually get used to all the bumps and stuff. Now, you do get the odd injury, and the odd injury is not so nice. Like I managed to dislocate my elbow. I've managed to have a concussion, and none of those things were nice. But you kind of you let yourself recover from them, and then you just get straight back in the ring again.
Okay, so are there any recovering routines that you're following, or is it just like time is gonna take care of it?
In general, I just kind of like this to kind of support my body. I just make sure to do all my stretches. Like I'm very big into stretching before I have a match or before I have any training. And like when I go down, I like stretch myself out again after a session just to keep my body nice and loose. And it seems to also, like, make the pain management a lot better, because your body is getting, you know, that kind of relaxation, that stretching, and it's not just getting pushed to the limit without any of that.
No, that's important. Now, how often do you train, and how often is there some like sparring that you go in through, lifting weights, training? How does one train for this type of performance in the ring?
Well, you have to do all your normal training, like going to the gym, lifting your weights, you know, getting your cardio up. And the other big thing is you have to do your in-ring training. Like, I try to go at least twice a week to training. If I can't make it twice a week, I make sure to make it at least once a week. I would like to go a lot more, but unfortunately I'm not a full-time wrestler yet, so I have a wee day job I have to go to. But you need to be in the ring regularly to be used to the ring, you know, taking bumps regularly, hitting the ropes regularly. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, ring cardio is completely different to normal cardio. I've seen people start who can like run marathons, and they do like 3 things in the ring and they're out of breath.
Well, I would be out of breath in both, whether it's a marathon or the ring. But I can understand that that cardio is a really important aspect of it. What's that adrenaline that, hey, someone is trying to punch me in the face? How are you dealing with that?
Oh, there's nothing like it. Like, honestly, the high you get from a wrestling match, there's just nothing that can compare to it. Nothing at all. It just, you know, you just get that rush of adrenaline, and it's just pure euphoria.
Okay, and I mean that's something that threat of getting punched, transferring to euphoria is an interesting, is something that I didn't think about before.
Well,
Like,
when I go out, I see myself as an entertainer, and if the crowd are making noise, I'm happy.
and do you sometimes animate the crowd? Are there some tricks that you have up your sleeve to get the crowd more animated?
A few. Like, I have very good trainers. I have a trainer called Tucker, and he's just amazing at what he does. Like, nobody knows how to get the crowd going like him, and he always pick up his wee tricks whenever I'm at training.
Ah, okay. So is that more on a verbal, or are there some specific moves that you make into, like, now it's game time, so to speak?
Yeah, there's like a non-verbal stuff that you can use to get people going, like simple things. Like, if you make eye contact with someone and you're just after selling that you've been hit in the face, you know, that's gonna you know, make them feel sympathy for you, and then they're gonna cheer for you because they want to see you give the other guy, you know, a big punch around the face, or, you know, any kind of move. They just want to see you get, you know, revenge for that.
Mm, okay, I can see that now. Wrestling is not just, well, you are in other sports, you're in other fighting sports, you're fighting and you're trying to take the other person down. But wrestling has that entertainment aspect, right? You mentioned that before. You're performing. Is there some sort of, I don't want to call it acting training, but I'm gonna call it acting training because I don't know what else to say. So is there some training that you do in relation to that?
Yeah, like, kind of just whenever you're like doing your normal training, you want to kind of like, we will try and do all our moves, like, you know, like we're on a show, like we're trying to, you know, sell that to the crowd. So you kind of get used to it at training. So, like, if someone punches me at training, I'm gonna sell that the same way I will sell it at a show, and it just then becomes instinct. It becomes habit. So whenever you take a move, you do it the way you would on a show.
Okay, so you're properly training as if it was a show. That makes a lot of sense. I mean, I guess it's like sparring and boxing. I was like, all right, now it's showtime. Like, let's
Yeah.
go. Um, Now, how do you feel has the sport grown, and where has it, what I call it, evolved over the last years?
Well, I would say, like, back whenever, like, wrestling really started becoming popular with WWE and stuff, WWE was, like, the sole product. And then now you have all these other products. You have New Japan, you have AEW, and there is wrestling basically out there for anybody. Anybody. Like, there's all these niche wrestling, and the industry is just so big. Like, you have different promotions in Europe, you have different promotions in America, you have different promotions in Japan, and they all offer different stuff.
Mm,
That's a
that
wrestling.
that that makes a lot of sense. And you mentioned earlier on that over the last few years, particularly for the LGBTQ community, there's been a lot more acceptance. Where do you see it going, and what's still needed at this point?
Well, I would say one of the biggest things is there is definitely a lack of LGBT people in the main events of the major promotions. Because like if you think of like WWE, there isn't really any LGBT ones that have
Hmm.
held the title yet. So it would be, I think that's what is going to be like the next big thing is whenever we have the first LGBT WWE champion, like the world champion, or even if that's AEW, the first big AEW champion.
Okay, so you basically need someone at the highest level to basically pave the way. Is that a right way to say it?
Yeah, I guess so.
Okay. And hopefully that's happening and as we see it in other sports as more and more people are well coming out and as they are feeling much more confident of speaking about who they are and feeling in well comfortable in their skin to tell the world who they are. Um, One aspect that I always wonder is how do people in your regular life react when you say, "Hey, I'm actually the Rainbow Rebel. I am a wrestler," because that's something that is not that common.
Oh, people usually really good. Like they, what? Like first of all, they're shocked, and then they like be like, like thinking I'm joking with them, and then I show them like a cool video of me wrestling, and they're like, "That's you."
So usually supportive then.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I mean, I could see that if someone's telling me they're professional, I'm like, that's damn cool. So I think that's pretty amazing. Now, as we move forward, it's 2023. We got the first quarter over, 9 months left. What are the next 9 months, or what's the rest of the year hold for you in your career, personally as well as professionally?
Well, I just kind of really want to like see my match standards go up. I definitely want to get better in the ring. I'm working on ways to improve myself, and I would love to maybe get a debut in sometime in another promotion in the next 9 months because I always like adding different, being able to say that I've wrestled in different places.
Hmm. Okay, and how does one go about that even? So if I wanted to start wrestling tomorrow, or if there is someone who is interested in entering the industry, how does one go about getting that and getting into different promotions, and how does one start out?
Well, you have to start out training, and then once you trained enough, you will eventually get told by your trainer, we're gonna see how you go. And once you're confident, then that's when you start putting a portfolio get together and you start reaching out to other promotions, like basically saying, if you like my stuff, please book me. And then you'll have to negotiate, your terms, what like your fees and stuff are with that promotion. It can be a wee bit harder in Northern Ireland where I'm based because you find likes of England and stuff because with the promoters you can't just jump in a car and go to them. They have to be willing to near enough fly you over
Hmm.
if they're in you. So sometimes you kind of have to take it upon yourself to get yourself to those places and let the promoter see you and let the promoter like realize that you're worth booking.
So it's that seems like very much of a almost a one-on-one personal relationship building with these promoters.
Yeah, that's essentially what it is. You need to like prove your worth to them, like make them see that you're going to add something to their show.
That's very interesting. And what's the role of agents in that industry? Are they very common? And if so, how do people go with an agent versus without an agent?
Regarding agents, I can't really answer any questions because I don't have one, and I actually don't know anybody who does.
Okay.
Like it's only like the proper high profile people that seem to have them, like ex-WWE guys and stuff that seem to have them.
Okay, so they're not as common. It's not like every wrestler has their own agent as you go through that.
No, it's not very common. It's pretty much all like you're running your own business and you're looking after yourself.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Now, as part of business running, we also know you got your own merchandising line, and wanted to see what inspired you for your merchandising line to launch that, and what does it mean to you?
Well, I kind of was like, during COVID, I just decided to make a design and I put it on a t-shirt and hope that people would buy it.
And it worked, I guess. So it's
To an extent.
so I mean that's the core of entrepreneurship is, and you know what? Screw it. I'm just gonna do it and see how it works out. Um,
Yeah, like business isn't my strong suit, but I do try. Like I actually designed this one myself.
all right, you got the Rainbow Rebel right there. So
Yeah,
check it out, all of our followers. Make sure to check out the merchandising store. We're definitely going to link you out on our socials and as when we are promoting the video. So head over, check out her merchandising store. The other aspect I want to mention before I let you go is your experience store on the SPRTER app. Head over there to connect with Skye on different experiences that she offers there. So check out their SPRTER app and check out Skye's profile there. But I won't let you go without asking you what we finish with all of our athletes. What's your recommendation for the next generation of wrestlers?
just get on it. Don't like listen to the oldies to an extent, but just reinvent the wheel. Always break the rules.
Okay. Always break the rules. I love that. Thank you so much for joining us on the SPRTER podcast today. Skye James, the Rainbow Rebel, you heard it here. And thank you for your insights and joining us on the SPRTER podcast. It's been great talking to you. All the best with the rest of 2023. We're definitely going to cheer from here and hope to see you in many more bookings and many more promotions. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Oh,